Puedes hablar.
Empieza la película más buena de monstruos.
En francés también, dilo.
¿Eh?
En francés también.
Es que no lo sé decir en francés.
Que si lo sabes, venga, que también para Papu y Mananu cuando vean el vídeo. Ça commence.
Ça commence la
Histoire.
histoire de les monstres.
This is the first film I've ever made. Back then, of course, I had no idea of what it meant to make a film. I still remember how disappointed I was when, right after filming, I looked at this raw footage and found out how bad my movie actually was.
¿Tienes más cerca para ver al hombre de la barca?
At the time, I blamed it on my mother, thinking she was the one who didn't film it right, and just forgot everything but this first step into what would eventually become my career. Now, looking back, I have no doubt what it was I didn't like about the film. When I was a kid, I used to play a lot with all kinds of toys, making up every possible story I could imagine and having my small actors put it to life. However, as time went by, these stories somehow began to lose life. I don't remember when was the last time I played in that way, but every time I've tried to go back to it, I've found nothing but a bunch of lifeless plastic figures looking back at me. I guess it is one of those things you don't even notice until you've lost them. The way in which you could be the director of the greatest film of all time without moving from a room. And that's probably what I didn't like about my film debut. How, in some uncanny way, it made me see reality as it now, years later, is. As what most would call an adult. This was me. At least, that's what I've been told. I wasn't there. Like everyone, sometimes I tend to think about the future. One time, as I was doing so, I found out that future, as most things, isn't but a faint concept. I was just thinking about those usual questions you would ask a fortune teller when I suddenly realized that I had already answered some of them. Then I began to think about how, as people grow older, they start to overcome their own future. What will you study? Where will you work? Who you're going to marry? How many kids you'll have? Are questions that, of course, have or will have a definite answer determined by time and only by time until, at one point, you run out of questions. However, that has also made me come to realize how those questions and the pursuit of their answer are precisely what life is made of. As in any well-constructed narrative, the more questions you create for your story arc, the more interesting that story arc is going to be, giving you a wider range of possibilities to embellish a tale. The moment reality surpasses imagination and you realize you're not playing with toys anymore, that's when life really begins and allows you to step forward into the world, to make the decisions that will end up determining who you are and who you will be. When I was 5, it never crossed my mind to become a filmmaker. But I guess that with that first film, the seed was planted, leaving the door open for everything that was to come.
Se durmió. ¿Qué pasó? Profundamente dormido. Y ahora sí, una preguntita, ¿es amigo de ustedes este manzanero?